Good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of StormCast. It is Sunday night, May 7th. We are back to our regular scheduled programming here, doing StormCast on Sunday nights. So, really glad to be back. We've got the EWV Fantastic Four with us so far. We've got myself here in EWV HQ in the ATL. We've got Mr. Eric Corin. Good to have him back on Stormcast with us. Been a couple of weeks since we've had him on out there in Arkansas. He'll give us an update on some of the flooding that they've had a little bit later. Our one and only Mountain Dew drinking, green EWV sweatshirt wearing Lady Disaster, aka Jesse. And our
Except for the
severe
night it's the milk.
thunderstorm warning Montana storm chaser Stephen Kimball. And also just joining us is our good friend from the great state of Oklahoma, Tornado Central, Cindy. So good to have you guys all with us tonight. So a couple of different things. Yeah, awesome. I mean, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be back here Sunday night on Stormcast. I know for a while we were at Monday nights and decided to make the move back to Sunday night here for the summer. Got Mother's Day coming up next week, so we probably won't have Stormcast next week. Just a heads up for everyone. But then we'll pick back up, not next week, but the following week with Stormcast. But a couple different things I wanted to just kind of get to talk with everyone about here as we do tonight's show. Talk about a couple different weather patterns because it's been an interesting spring season, and we honestly haven't seen as many tornadoes as we usually see for this time of the year. Numbers-wise, I mean, we've definitely seen some significant tornadoes, no doubt. But numbers-wise, we haven't seen nearly as many tornadoes. And some of that has to do with kind of the weather patterns that we've been noticing. You may have heard some meteorologists talking about an omega block, and that's kind of where you have a low pressure system along the west coast, a big ridge across the plains, and then another low pressure system across the east coast. And when we've got the ridge across the plains, you're not going to really get a whole lot of severe weather. You're just going to get a lot of hot and dry weather. And then on the western side of that eastern low pressure, we can get, these different low moving pressure systems that just kind of sit stationary and bring in a bunch of moisture. And we get flooding like we saw last week. And, we'll even get some severe weather and stuff like that. So, which we're going to be getting some more severe weather here later on this week. We'll get to that in a bit. But I just kind of wanted to give everyone a chance to kind of catch up with us, let us know how things are going, where you're at, and any exciting weather you've had. So, Cindy, we'll start with you. How's the week been since last week's Stormcast? How's things out there in Oklahoma been?
It's been a little windy, but it's been warm. At night it's been cold, but now it's even warm in the evening. So it's really beautiful here.
What was your high temperature there today?
Today was about 85.
85, yeah.
Big change from like 4 days ago when the high was 50 something.
Mm-hmm. And that's really interesting. Really interesting you mentioned that because here on these past couple days, Thursday and Friday was really cool here for Atlanta. Friday we only got to a high of about 55 degrees, and it was rainy. Woke up at about 48 in the morning, and this is first week of May. Last year at this time we were about in the 90s, just about. So I'm not complaining. It's been a much different weather pattern here to start the month of May, but all the hot weather's been kind of focused out there across the plains, and with that ridge of high pressure in place, you haven't gotten too many storms, have you?
No.
Yeah, kind of stormless where you've been. But that's going to change as we get into the middle of this week. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are expecting by midweek. I know on Wednesday and Thursday, looks like you guys are possibly going to be getting some severe weather. What have the local meteorologists been saying?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yes and no. So maybe 20% chance of severe weather. Maybe a little bit of rain, but mainly down in Texas, not so much up here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, I mean, hopefully it'll make it up there. I know it's going to be a slow-moving system, starting really across, like you said, portions of Texas and maybe western Oklahoma, and then kind
Yes.
of moving through your area more in the overnight hours. So not as great of a severe threat, but fingers crossed that maybe you'll get some more lightning, Cindy.
I know that would be awesome, Joey. I could just see it now.
You never know. Exactly, you never know. Awesome. Well, glad you've had a good week out there, and hope this week goes well. And hopefully you'll have a nice weekend for Mother's Day coming up
Oh, that'd be
on Sunday.
yes.
That's awesome. So Eric is out in the great Razorback state of Arkansas. So, and you guys have had quite an interesting past week of weather. So tell us what's been going on out there in your neck of the woods.
Just first off, it's good to be back here. I know it's been a while, like you said in the beginning. And weather-wise, we've had a lot of rain and stuff. It caused a lot of flooding, especially up in the northern parts of Arkansas. Southern parts of Missouri got hit pretty hard as well. I got a buddy that lives up there, and they had a lot of culverts and roads wash out and stuff.
Wow.
Some of the rivers have went down. Some of them continue to go up. The Little Rock National Weather Service, as you can see there on the screen share, the Newport and Augusta location are trending downward, and the Georgetown, Desart, and Clarendon areas are slowly but surely going up. And there's the crest and their expected dates. Other than that, the mornings have been pretty cool. I know I get up about 5:30ish, 5:45, and the temperatures have been about the middle to upper 40s. And then as the day progresses, it's been pretty comfortable, mid 70s, lower 80s and stuff. So it's
nice. I mean, not as hot as Cindy's. What'd you say? 85, Cindy? You
Yes.
had
Yes.
85. That's pretty hot. That's pretty hot.
Yep. One day I think we had a temperature made it up to like some parts of the state made it up to the probably about lower to middle 80s, but that was the southern part. So up here in central Arkansas, it feels pretty pleasant, to be honest. And the winds have been coming out of the south and providing for pretty nice days at that.
That's good. Well, I know later this week you guys are expecting some severe weather. What's the chatter been like in your area among weather folks for Thursday? I know it's still a while out, but
on the National Weather Service chat, they've just been telling us to, keep an eye out and everything, and to pay attention to Thursday. It's going to be kind of like a morning to afternoon event type thing that they're saying. Of course, that could change. Like you said, it's a little far out, but other than that, I think the main threats with it is going to be the high winds and the hail, and of course, an isolated tornado. That seemed to be the main threats with the storms that have come through here within the past week or two.
yeah, I mean, interesting. This spring so far, we really haven't had for the spring per se. This year we have, but for the spring, we really have not had one of those really big tornado outbreaks where you get 50 to 100 tornadoes in one outbreak. We've just kind of had them scattered here throughout the year. I know back in January we had January, February here in Georgia. We actually had a couple outbreaks here. I know we had one that had about 64 tornadoes, if I remember correctly, back in January across the state of Georgia, ranging from EF0 all the way up to EF3. That's when we had, the Albany tornado and the tornado down near Adele, and we've had quite a few across central and southern Georgia. I think Georgia's actually, at least last I checked, Georgia was actually leading the count for the state with the most tornadoes in 2017, surprisingly. So we have not seen, that real uptick in tornado activity across Texas and Oklahoma, where we are typically seeing it here by the first week of May. So we'll have to see how that changes. Obviously, we've got this omega block pattern that's kind of been sticking around, but hopefully that'll probably break down here by the end of this week. And we'll maybe get into more of our spring-like pattern. So Jesse's got the Storm Prediction Center outlook pulled up. So, pretty quiet first part of this week. Slight risk on Monday We had a marginal risk today. Didn't really see a whole lot of severe weather. Now, up in Montana, I know they had some severe weather, and Stephen will tell us about that here in just a minute. But before we do that, I want to give Jesse an opportunity to kind of tell us what has been going on up there in Iowa.
Weather-wise, not a thing. We have been pretty quiet.
How's your temperatures been? I mean, I know you guys are kind of in the ridge. Has it been fairly warm or?
About 70, 75, somewhere in there. It kind of fluctuates.
So for this time of year compared to last year, is that warmer than what you had last year at this time, or is that kind of right around where you're usually at?
Right around where we're usually at.
Okay. Nice. So anything interesting that you guys are expecting up there this week, or just pretty dry, mild conditions for the week?
We're supposed to have rain tomorrow night, about a 50% chance.
Okay. Well, that's good. You know, get some rain for all those cornfields, so we can all get our corn, which is very important. But since we're here,
Yes.
let's kind of take a look here through the week. So, Jesse, if you could advance there to Monday's outlook. So this is what we're looking at for Monday. We're going to be having a slight risk of storms over the what we could say high plains. So portions of eastern Colorado, mainly east of Denver, and then marginal risk down through eastern New Mexico, and then all the way across portions of the Texas, Oklahoma Panhandle, western Kansas, southwest Nebraska. So not too busy for tomorrow, but places like Denver, Colorado Springs, Castle Rock, those areas have a chance of maybe seeing some gusty winds and a little bit of hail. Not too much in the way of tornado activity. I think a lot of those thunderstorms tomorrow will be high-based thunderstorms for tomorrow. And as we move forward from tomorrow into Tuesday, we're going to drop our severe weather risk back down. Kind of a quiet day on Tuesday. Just a marginal risk from the Mexican-USA border there down in Texas, back up kind of into some of the areas. This is going to be a very slow-moving system. So as it starts out, it's just going to take a while to wind up. But there is that, slight chance of maybe some isolated damaging wind gusts or some small hail on Monday and Tuesday. Then once we get into Wednesday, that's when this system will really kind of start ramping up. We're really going to see that Gulf moisture kind of kicking in, and we're going to see a severe weather threat develop kind of just west of the Oklahoma City area. So places like Abilene, Texas, and Wichita Falls, down over toward Lawton, Oklahoma, maybe could see some severe weather on Wednesday. And then as we go into Thursday, Wednesday night, they don't have it listed, but really Wednesday night will be more central Oklahoma. And then Thursday morning, southeastern Oklahoma, northeast Texas, so Texarkana, Texoma area. And then by early afternoon into the afternoon hours into central and southern Arkansas. And then by the overnight hours, probably into portions of northwest Mississippi. Again, that day, Wednesday and Thursday, I think we have a fairly good chance of, seeing some pretty good size hail, damaging wind gusts maybe up to 70 miles per hour, and a couple of tornadoes. Don't expect too many tornadoes. I think the greatest tornado threat will probably be on Wednesday and then maybe Thursday afternoon. I don't think there's going to be too much of a tornado threat Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So that's kind of what we're looking at there, severe weather-wise. And so thank you for that, Jesse. So that's kind of look there at the current conditions, just kind of a very broad area of showers and thunderstorms across parts of the west. Still got some precipitation falling across parts of the northeast as well, and pretty dry across much of the center of the country and the southeast. So, Stephen, I know you guys had some severe weather there in Montana earlier, so I wanted to have you kind of tell us a little bit about what you guys had there in Montana today, severe weather-wise.
Weather-wise, from yesterday's severe weather, we were told by the meteorologist Mike Rollins from KRTV that we were supposed to get severe storms with damaging winds and hail for Saturday. And the temperatures were pretty nice outside yesterday through the whole day. Around, I think it was like 4:30. We got a severe thunderstorm warning on my phone. Came over my phone, so we had a severe thunderstorm warning, and we were out at a restaurant eating, and we're kind of keeping an eye on the weather, see what it was going to do. Warning goes off. We see it. It's not far out. We leave the restaurant, get home, get settled in. I get into the computer room, and it starts to rain. It's not too bad with thunder and lightning. And then out of nowhere, it just blew in. They said 70-mile-per-hour winds possible with the storm. And then, while the storm was going, on here, we had
Oh,
this.
wow. Yeah. So that basketball hoop just clearly snapped right in half there. So
And
that was
you can see the background. That's the wind blowing in the
yeah.
background. You cannot
Wow.
see nothing.
So you probably had a good, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gust come through and knock that down. Yeah, and that's in ground too. So I mean that's a good amount of wind to snap that pole there.
And that's my dad's truck right there. And the other side of my dad's truck is my mom's car. And here's some other photos that I took.
Oh wow, look at that. Yeah, definitely send those in. We'll definitely post those up on the website.
Those are nice.
And that's the view from my backyard, like right
Wow.
before the storm started to rain, which was an interesting, storm. The fire department got called up to a intersection of the 7th Street Northeast and 36th Avenue Northeast, which is about 4 or 5 blocks from me, for a tree that got struck by lightning.
Wow.
The fire truck on the scene couldn't find nothing. They cleared. And then there was another call of wires down. And that was basically it for calls for city fire. But the county fire department hardly got nothing.
Wow.
Which was, very interesting to see what wind can do.
Yeah,
I mean,
Steven, yeah, you can see it. If we could go back to the picture of the storm there as it approached your area, I just kind of want to go over some of the different features that we can very clearly see here in this picture. So you can clearly see you have your shelf cloud kind of out ahead of it. So this is, pretty well-defined supercell. Got your anvil clouds. You also have your kind of what we call, your stacked layers that you can see in the storm structure as it goes up. I think you had another picture. I think it was the one before. Yeah, that one right there. Yes. So here on the left, you kind of have a little bit of a lowering there from your shelf cloud, be a wall cloud possibly, and the front section of these clouds, where that white line kind of is, that's kind of indicates your gust front, where your gust front's at. So right out ahead of that storm, right before that storm came in, you probably had some good 50, 60 mile per hour winds, maybe even stronger in some areas, depending on where you were in relation to that gust front coming through. But that is a fantastic picture there of that storm there in Montana. You can clearly see your rain shaft on the right, and then on the left, where your wall cloud is, just to the left of that, just your clear slot and no precipitation falling. absolutely great capture there, Stephen. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, and the one thing that I was kind of concerned about is with the wind blowing like that, kind of be watching the power lines and trees, because a lot of times trees can fall right on top of your house and stuff too, and last year, I think it was last year, the last year before, the neighbor's tree across the street fell right on top of power lines, and it was like a big tree,
Mm-hmm.
like a big. It was like way high.
Yeah. So it definitely sounds like you had an interesting day there today. So what are you looking at for the rest of this week weather-wise?
We're supposed to get some possible rain, I believe, tomorrow, from what my mom was saying. They said a scattered, supposed to be like 65
Okay,
with
not bad.
some, not bad.
You're not having snow anymore, right?
No,
Snow's
no.
finally done. That's good. That's
And
good.
looks like the week is supposed to be nicer, getting up in the high 70s and 80s coming up this Thursday.
Yeah.
Which is,
Wow, that's pretty good for up there, all the way up in Montana, getting into the 80s here in early May. So
yeah, and my phone goes off every time I get a warning, or I get like a winter storm warning, severe thunderstorm warning. It will automatically send me a message here.
mm-hmm. They have a way to receive warning.
Yeah, it shows right there on the thing.
Oh yeah, see that's awesome. That's great that you have that, and especially now as we're getting here into May and really into kind of getting into the heart of tornado season. Definitely advised to have a way to receive warnings on your mobile device, because especially if you have your location service on, even if you're out driving on the highway, driving through Kalamazoo County, and there's a warning issued, you'll get that alert right on your phone. And Dan, good to have you join us here on this Stormcast. Good to have you back with us, my friend.
Having technical difficulties.
Well, I hear you fine, but we'll get back to him here in just a second. But thanks, Stephen. And it was an interesting week here, weather-wise, here in Atlanta. We'll get Dan back here in just a minute and kind of catch up with him as to what's going on weather-wise.
Sorry.
But this past week was really quite an interesting week here. We kind of had big temperature swings. We started out pretty warm and nice in the 70s, then it dropped down from the 70s and 80s. It was actually in the lower 80s, and then we dropped temperature down into the 50s by Friday. And we actually had two different EF0 tornadoes that touched down. One was down at the airport. Let me share my screen here with you real quick. So we had two different EF0s touchdown. We had one at Hardisfield-Jackson Airport, and then the other one was actually here about 10 minutes from where my house is here in DeKalb County. So the one at Hardisfield-Jackson Airport was the EF0 with winds of 85 miles per hour. It was kind of there on the northern side of the airport. The main bulk of the airport is kind of down here. So thankfully it wasn't, in the main one of the main terminals. I believe this is the international terminal areas where this tornado was. And then we had, that was only about 200. I think they got that wrong. They put the path link as 200 miles. I think they meant 200 yards. There's a typo there for you. It was actually 200 yards long, 50 yards wide. No zero fatalities or injuries. That was at 9:12 p.m. And then, so you can see here, there was a cargo bin that was thrown onto the roof of a building. And also there was a cargo bin thrown into this FedEx truck, causing some damage there. And then over here near where I live, we also had another EF0 tornado that was a bit, wasn't as strong, but it was actually longer and also wider, which is why we say just the appearance of a tornado does not determine its intensity. Because you would think that this tornado here would have been stronger, but it only had 70-mile-per-hour winds. However, it had a 1.1 mile path and was 80 yards wide at its widest point. And it snapped some trees across the area. It actually crossed over Interstate 285 as well. And that was just about 30 minutes later at 9:40 p.m. on May 4th. So that was kind of exciting. That happened here this week in Atlanta. For the rest of the week, we're going to be kind of warming things up here these next couple of days. Nice weather tomorrow, but we're going to be about 78 degrees, then getting up back into the mid to upper 80s Tuesday through Thursday, sunny weather, and then Friday, that next storm system that we talked about that's going to be swinging through Oklahoma and then into Arkansas, Mississippi. Friday, that's going to be coming in to our area here in Georgia, and then bringing us some nice spring-like weather here for the weekend. So really looking forward to that. So, and yes, also, thank you, Jesse, for pulling that up. I was just about to mention that. The Atlanta KFFC radar has been down, but it is back in operations. They finally performed their final checks this afternoon. It wasn't expected to be fixed until next Sunday, actually, but thankfully they were able to work quickly and get the electronic technicians and the radar operations center working on it, and they were able to get it back up and running. So we finally have radar again here in Atlanta. So a round of applause for the KFFC radar team. So awesome. And last but not least, I wanted to give an opportunity to Dan. Glad to have you on StormCast here tonight. So tell us a little bit about what the weather's been like this last week and what you're expecting for this week.
Well, it is nice to be back. Good to see everybody again.
Hi,
We've gone through a period of some pretty wet weather earlier last week. We finally started to dry out eventually now, and we've been enjoying some pretty nice days. About average. It's been sunny. Highs have been in the upper 50s, low 60s, which is pretty typical for us right about now. It is supposed to get cold tonight, so if you're in the upper Midwest, we have freeze warnings overnight. For tonight, our lows are supposed to get down to about 30. And then for the rest of the week, a lot more of the same, upper 50s, low 60s, chances of rain early this week, and then drying out by Thursday.
Good.
So,
well,
otherwise, it's been fairly quiet. We haven't had any, I would say, real big storms. So just cold overnight, but then we recover quite nicely.
So large temperature variance from what you wake up in the morning to the afternoon. So
that time of year,
pretty big temperature swings. Yeah, I see those. You mentioned the freeze warnings, which basically extend across portions of southeast Wisconsin. I think the entire state of Michigan, except for the UP of Michigan, is also under that freeze warning into northeast Indiana and northern Ohio and northwestern Pennsylvania and extreme western New York, all under that freeze warning, and the wind chill advisory surrounding that a little bit further south down into Kentucky and West Virginia and even Western Virginia for the overnight hours. So
that's right.
Definitely pretty interesting. Thanks, Jesse, for pulling up that map there so you can kind of see exactly what I was talking about there. The areas in purple, the freeze warnings, the lighter blue areas south there, those wind chill advisories, things like that. And you can even still see we were talking about the flooding earlier. There's still some river flood warnings and some other flood warnings there into parts of Arkansas, Illinois, and southern Missouri, southern Missouri from the flooding. And hopefully they won't get too much more rain.
It's a small speck of green, but also in the Fox Valley in Wisconsin as well. So.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, definitely quieter severe weather pattern lately, but we'll see what this next weather system brings. And I think by mid to late May, we may see a weather pattern change and start seeing more of that regular day-to-day severe weather across the plains. And then obviously as we get later on into the year, into June and July, that severe weather kind of goes from the southern plains and works its way up. So pretty soon, Dan will be talking about severe weather risk up in your area from Wisconsin into Minnesota and the Dakotas. Those
it'll start to shift north as we get on through spring. Now, I came on late. I don't know if you probably already talked about the slight risk tomorrow that involves eastern. What is that? Colorado.
Yeah, we mentioned kind of went through this week in weather with that. So yeah, we got the slight risk tomorrow. That's the beginning of this system that's going to be affecting, really kind of ramping up across portions of Oklahoma and Texas and Arkansas by Wednesday and Thursday. So could see, some hail and some damaging winds tomorrow. I don't think there's really too big of a tornado threat. I think a lot of the storms are going to be elevated in nature out there in Colorado. Typically, that's what happens, which is why you don't see a whole lot of tornadoes out there. It depends on if they're surface-based or if they're elevated. I think these will be a bit more elevated tomorrow.
It's also not too often you see a flood warning in Nevada.
Yeah, Nevada. Well, it depends because once you get into the monsoon season, you can get some flooding out there in parts of Nevada and even into Arizona, places like that. Once you get the summer monsoon, late spring, early summer monsoon kind of kicking in. But yeah, I mean, it's been pretty interesting. Had severe weather. I'm not sure if you were here, maybe caught the end of it. Stephen had some severe weather up there today in Montana. Stephen, can you throw that picture back up? Can you throw that picture back up of that storm that you had, so Dan can check that out and those that are viewing us, because that was an awesome picture. That was absolutely fantastic. If you can get it up here. Yeah, there they are. Okay, so he had his basketball hoop get snapped by probably 60, 65 mile per hour winds. Thankfully, it didn't hit the truck. Thankfully, the truck was pulled farther up. And then he also has another picture of the storm cloud, of the actual storm structure. Which he'll get pulled up here. Look at this, Dan. And you have the other one too, Steven. I mean, that was just fantastic. I mean, you could clearly see the shelf cloud. There was even a little bit of a lowering in a wall cloud. The gust front clearly well defined there on that picture. I mean, that was just fantastic. And what direction were you looking from there, Stephen? Were you looking to your southwest? As that was that approaching from your southwest?
Steve, I think you're on mute.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was from the storm was kind of moved from southwest to northeast. That was earlier today. I mean, that's a pretty awesome picture there. So
yeah, that does look good.
So just wanted to make sure you got to see that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we got going on. So we'll wrap it up here for this week's edition of StormCast. Cindy, anyone got anything else they have wanted to talk about or discuss weather-wise?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When we had that front go through here where the temperature was in the upper 70s and it dipped down to the 40s, I thought I saw a cold air funnel.
That's possible. I mean? Yeah.
What does that look like exactly? I couldn't get a picture because it was traveling too fast. It was behind trees. When I saw it, it was moving through an open area. And by the time I got my phone focused, it was behind the trees and gone.
Okay, so cold air funnel, like you said, yeah, cold air funnels. They really usually are short-lived, and they're much weaker than your typical tornadoes.
Right.
And basically, obviously, they can touch down briefly and become weak tornadoes or water spouts, but typically cold air funnels kind of form behind, like right behind the cold front, where you have that quick shift in wind direction. But they
Right.
look like they do look like funnel clouds, but they're called cold air funnels because of where they form in relation to the cold front being right
Oh, okay.
right just behind the cold front. So that's why I call them cold air funnels. But typically, I mean, they look like a regular funnel cloud. I mean, they may look
Uh-huh.
darker, and oftentimes too, a cold air funnel is going to be much more elevated, so it'll typically be higher up
Right. This
above
was
the
very
surface.
much higher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was higher up. Yeah, so typically cold air fronts are not surface based because of a cold front is basically tilted. So let's say my elbow is the front of the cold front, and it tilts at
Right.
about a 45-degree angle, and you're going to
Okay.
have storms kind of forming right above the cold front where that warm air is, and you can kind of have a
Oh,
cold air
okay.
funnel dip down through the front. So excellent question there about cold air funnels. Excellent. Awesome.
Well, thank you for that information.
Yeah, thanks for asking, and I hope everyone check that out. And there's a good picture. There's a picture of a cold air funnel there for
Okay.
you.
Yep, that's what it looked like.
Yep.
But it was a little bit shorter. It wasn't quite as elongated.
Yeah, and they kind of come in all shapes and sizes. But again, typically they're much higher. They're higher up in elevation than your typical funnel. So they can
Yeah.
form maybe a couple thousand feet above the surface, whereas your tornado funnels may form only a couple hundred feet
Right.
above the surface. So good question. Dan, you got any questions or comments for this week's episode?
Did you guys talk about some of the snow that's expected in New England?
We did not. I mentioned there was some precipitation falling up there, but we did not talk about that a whole lot. If you want to kind of fill us in, since you are up in the north, let us know what they're expecting. I'm not sure because I have not really looked into that.
Me neither.
Well, I was
I
just
know
kind
with
of
this
reviewing
Omega block, they were expecting it to be get that cold shot of air and have that chance.
Well, it looks like
Maine and Vermont
through
and
Tuesday night, they could get up to a few inches. So nothing major as far as total snow accumulations go, but it's newsworthy given that it's the 7th of May. So
awesome,
cold
yeah.
air and
Yep.
snow in New England.
I remember when I lived in Buffalo, New York. My sister's birthday is coming up here in 3 days, May 10th. And I remember one of the years it snowed on her birthday in Buffalo.
Yes, I remember.
Yep, it's happened. Snowed on May 10th.
Well, I was just reading a stat here that says Boston's last average 1 inch of, let's see, is it Boston's? No, Buffalo, excuse me. Yeah. Buffalo's last average inch of snow or greater is April 2nd. So given that it's May 7th, that's at least worth mentioning and talking about a little bit because it doesn't happen that often. Definitely past average.
Definitely, yeah. It's beyond average, exactly. Awesome.
So other than that, no, it looks to be a rather quiet week in the upper Midwest in my area, other than some low temperatures overnight. But
yeah, hopefully you don't have any. Protect those plants, man. Protect those plants. If you have any. Don't start gardening yet. Don't start gardening yet. No gardening until June.
That's right. They better come up by September.
Right. Awesome. What about you, Eric? You got any closing questions or comments for this week's Stormcast?
Honestly, no questions. Just I hope the weather stays nice and manageable. I've been enjoying it.
Your dogs look like they're enjoying it too back there.
Yeah.
They're just having a ball. I think that's the highlight of this week's Stormcast right now. Look at them.
Yeah.
They're loving it.
Oh yeah, they've been playing outside and stuff. We've been letting them go outside more than what we usually do, and all that. And I think that they've enjoyed it. Right now, looking at temperatures on the map, we got some middle 60s, of course, upper 60s and lower 70s. So it's pretty comfortable outside. I've even got a fan in the window. I've not turned on my air conditioner yet, so I've been enjoying the weather.
That's awesome. Yeah, we turned ours on for a couple days there, but haven't turned it on full blast. And what about you, Jesse? What do you got going on? What are your thoughts and comments? What are we looking at here? We're looking at some video of.
It's the video of the tornadoes down in Atlanta.
That's Southeast Georgia or
Yeah, Garden
Garden
City.
City? Yeah, the Garden City storm. Yeah, that was. When was that? Monday, Tuesday? That was a
Monday or Tuesday.
EF2 tornado. Did they rate that?
Yep,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the EF2 tornado. So that was the big tornado, I guess, of the week here in Georgia. Again, where was it? Georgia. It wasn't in Oklahoma
Yeah,
or
no, it wasn't in
or
Oklahoma.
Texas. I just guess this 2017 is the year for Georgia tornadoes. We've had probably over 150 tornadoes so far this year, which is pretty well above average, especially for this early on in the year, only into May. So we kind of have two severe weather seasons here. We have a severe weather season in spring, and we have another severe weather season from September into October. So definitely pretty good. And
that's
Steven,
when we chase trees.
that's when we chase trees in September and October. Yes, sir. I know Eric was telling me earlier on his recommended YouTube videos. Like the first recommended video is the one of me kind of smashing through the tree. I'm like, really? Okay.
It was used at my local National Weather Service spotter training class.
Yeah.
So you are making it across the nation.
Oh my God.
We are making it across the nation. And Dan, I mean, you were the one that was providing me with the hotel support for that night. You got me to my hotel.
Yes, sir.
And then I took it from there and just you know what, let's go out and hit a couple trees, you know. And
someone should use my lightning video for what not to do.
Yeah, don't go out and film lightning. Exactly. then run back inside like a chicken with your head off, you know.
Don't film lightning, and if you do, make sure you have an extra pair of shorts handy.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
So, but yeah, I mean, I'm really glad that you guys are all able to join us. And again, I want to thank all of our viewers also for tuning in this week. If you haven't already, guys, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It takes literally like 5 seconds to do it. Now we also get notifications. We'll be doing StormCast. Again, we'll take next week off because of Mother's Day. So enjoy the time with your moms. Make your moms feel awesome. And let them know that you love them. You know, spend the day with them. And then we'll be back here on StormCast in 2 weeks on May 21st around 9 p.m. Eastern, sometime around there. So also follow our Facebook page because we'll post up information on that as well. And looking forward to next week's edition of StormCast. So thank you guys for joining us this week. Enjoy next week. Enjoy the nice weather. You know, enjoy those 60s and 70s and try not to freeze too much. And we'll definitely catch you guys next week on StormCast.
Wait, where's the ambush question?
I already asked Dan his ambush question. It was about the snow in the Northeast.
Solid.
So I got it in.
He was prepared for that one. That's not fair.
Yeah, but guys, thank you so much for being an awesome team. I love talking to you guys each and every week. And we'll definitely catch all of you guys May 21st, Sunday night, May 21st. Have a great night.